Brandon, I'm so sorry for equipment issue. I'm not good at computer. Right? Are you ready, Brandon? Of course. Okay, let's welcome Brandon.
Becoming a language experimenter. So actually here, National Taiwan University of Science and Technology, right? Yeah, I'm in the right place, right? Yeah. So science and technology actually are related to the topic experiment. So I'm quite curious about how many of you are science people. Raise your hand if you are science people. Few science people. And so the rest of you, so how many of you are non-science people? Non-science people. Also a few. So we have half science and half non-science. Good. So today we will talk about experiments. I mean, since I'm a non-science person, and based on my understanding, experiment is like medical people. They will try to inject the medicine into the rat to see whether the medicine is effective or not. And some computer engineers, they do experiments on coding, on computers. So most of the people, they do experiments on objects, something not alive. But you know, as a language experimenter, I do the experiment on lively creatures. I do the experiments on human beings. So don't be afraid, the door is closed and dogs are waiting outside. So you're not going to run away from here. So today I will do some language experiments. You know, why do I do language experiments? Because when you do language experiments, you can actually pay attention to people's face. Their face might tell you a lot of information. Sometimes their facial expression might stretch. Their eyes might light up. Or sometimes they might frown and they rub their chin. So actually, when you are doing language experiments, you can first pay attention to people's face. And also, you can hear something like laughter. That means whether you are doing a successful language experiment. So, now let's talk about what is an experiment. So, based on the definition, you can see experiment is like you have to go through some procedures and then you will discover something. For example, Newton. Do you know Newton? Isaac Newton. One day, he was sitting under the tree, and the apple falling from the tree, and knocked on his head. And he didn't say, "What the apple?" Instead, he said, "Why does the apple fall from the tree?" He asked a question, and then he designed some procedures for his experiments. So he discovered something called gravity. And that's something you can do. You can ask yourself a question, and then design some procedure for your experiments. And then you might discover something new. So today, I have 3 objectives for today's workshop. The first one is we have to know the reason. Why do we do language experiments? And the second one is what type of language experiments can we do? What language elements can we use to do language experiments? And the last one is about the steps and ways. How can I do language experiments? So you see the targets, right? I have 3 targets for you. So I hope after this workshop, you can come up with your own way of doing you can design your own language experiments and try to do some experiments. So first experiment is called signature. Do you know signature? The name, right? The name on the document or on the file. And do you know another meaning of signature? For example, if I go to the restaurant and my friend asks me, "So what's the signature here?" What does that mean? Have you ever heard another meaning of signature? 出头菜. That's yeah, signature. So you can see the second definition. It's like a distinctive something and something that can be easily identified. So that's the signature. And also another example of signature is Superman. Do you know Superman? Superman has a big letter S in front of his chest. That S doesn't mean superpower because you won't have superpower on your chest. Otherwise, boom, 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 right? So that means Superman. So when you see the letter S in front of his chest, that means Superman is coming to save the world. So now, let me ask you, what is your signature? So can you help me to scan the Google definition? Now, let's check out your own signature. I believe like everyone has your own signature, just like Superman. So I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to scan. If you cannot scan it, you can come to the front. Okay? So everyone scan it. Okay, so now we have the first signature experiment. Now I want to invite you to write down, it's the Google definition, right? No. Oh,
It's a Facebook page.
okay. So I should write down something. You can first Google USA. Search for Google USA and the first website. And then you go to Google USA. And the website you can type any word. For example, signature. And then you plus definition. And then you will see the definition. Okay. So let's give it a try. Try to search for Google USA and the first website, and then you can type any word plus definition. You don't have to type.
I have a little problem here. The very first one that popped up is Merriam-Webster. It's a dictionary. The second one is dictionary.com.
No. You can type any word, and then you can search now. Yeah, you can type any word. That's how it works. You see this one. When you see this one, that means you already see the Google definition.
So you search your name in the Google dictionary or some kind.
Yeah, first you just enter like a Google and search Google USA in the website. You type any word, don't type signature. Type any word that can represent you, and then plus definition. Okay?
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna give you one example. So the first step is you have to know your signature. Use one keyword. It could be an adjective or a noun. So the signature can either be like someone that used the word to frequently describe you, to define you, or maybe you like to use that word to define yourself. So it could either be like people use the word to define you, or you use the word to define yourself. You choose. So now you all choose the word, right? You all chose the word. Okay, that can be your signature. And then you have to check out the word through Google definition. So now you just try to read the definition and try to see, can you see some keywords? And then now the next step, so you will have two people and then in a pair. And then you will try to have each one has 30 seconds to share with your partner about the word and why do you think people use that word to describe you, or why you use that word to describe yourself. Okay, so now everyone just read the definition for 5 seconds. And after 5 seconds, you can talk to your partner. And then each person has 30 seconds. So I'm gonna help you to, count the time. Okay, now you can share with your partner now. The word and why.
Yes.
Good looking. I heard good looking. Good. Can you check out the definition of good looking? No, I check out. Okay. Good. Okay, you have 5 more seconds. So now it's your partner's turn. So switch. It's another person. Try to share. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, time's up. So I believe that you all find out your signature, right? And actually, Google definition is kind of like a fortune teller. It can tell you the fate or your destiny by actually reading Google definition. And I will tell you why. Because I like the word momentum. Do you know momentum? I believe science people, they know momentum, right? 动能. And then I heard from one of my students for like NTNU, and he's also a student, a graduate student, study like physics. And he told me momentum means like a weight plus speed equals momentum. And I try to think about it. I say, oh, the mission for tonight, I mean, the reason I come here, I want to help you to help your words gain some weight in your listener or in your audience mind. I know most of the girls, you don't want to gain weight, right? You want to lose weight. But everyone wants to help their words gain some weight in their listener or audience mind. And also about the speed. Gaining speed means, I hope I can help you to process the language, faster, without relying on Chinese translation. And that's something I will tell you how to do that. And ultimately, I hope tonight you can gain some momentum. So that's momentum. So actually, you can try to make sense of the words by reading Google definition, and you will find out your destiny. And now we're going to move on to procedures, because if you want to do language experiments, you have to design some procedures. And let's take a look. What procedures do we have? We have 3 magical moves. As you can see, the first one, meaning. And then we move on to meaning making. The last one, modifying. And you just check out, Google definition, right? So you know how to actually know the original meaning of the word. And now let's talk about what's the difference between Google translation and Google definition. So how many of you use Google translation for your homework? Copy and paste, copy and paste. Okay, you use Google translation. So others, how many of you use Google definition? Google definition? No? Okay, that means everyone uses Google translation. You know why? Because Google actually is a great software company, and they have big data. They know how Taiwanese students, how they learn English at school. We learned it in this way. Perspective, 观点. Perspective, 观点. And your teacher will say, memorize it. Perspective, 观点. But here comes the problem. If I ask you, what does that mean, perspective? Can you try to explain perspective in 白话文 way? Anyone, can you use Chinese to explain 观点是什么? Can anyone tell me 观点是什么?
Point of view.
Point of view 可以用中文吗？观点是什么？观点是什么样的中文？看法。Okay, ideas. Kind of.
我的看法。
看法. Okay, ideas. But you can have a crazy ideas. If you want to be on the news, you can directly, run without wearing any clothes, and you will be on the news. For the student from National Taiwan University of Science and Technology, a student just went crazy, and then that can be a crazy idea, right? So if you check out the Google definition, you will know the definition of perspective is a way of thinking that is based on your personal experience or who you are. So that means your personality and your past experiences will shape the way you think. So you will further know, the real meaning of perspective. Not to say 观点，我想跟你分享一下我的观点。But I have no idea. What does that mean? What's the difference between ideas and perspective? So before you do any language experiment, you have to check out the meaning, the original meaning of the word. And then we can move on to the second step, meaning making. So when it comes to meaning making, actually we will talk about extraction. So let's take a look at the definition of extraction. You can see the process of making known one's thoughts or feelings. So if you can make people know your thoughts, that's great. That's good. But if you can make people know your feelings, that's even better. But how? Most of the people, they have a statement. They want people to remember one statement. And so that's the reason you speak. And then you do pure reasoning. For example, if I told you, Toastmaster is great because you can practice your English speaking. Do you want to join? Probably not, right? Toastmaster is great because you can practice your English speaking. And because when you say this statement, it's kind of like your argument just like a skeleton. You have all the bones, but you don't have flesh. You don't have blood. So there's no blood flowing into your listener or audience hearts. So that's the problem. If you do pure reasoning, you will make yourself like a skeleton. But how can you bring a mini maker? You can see the gadget here. The VR, do you know VR? Virtual reality, right? So how can we overly create virtual reality effects? VR is like you wear the gadget and you keep moving, and people around you think like you are crazy. I can't understand what you just see, right? So people cannot understand what you just saw. But if you can have AR, augmented reality effect, that means you can actually make people around you see something that you see. So let me try to put it in a simple way. One director actually say, VR is like yin yang yin. You can see the ghost, but people around you, they cannot see the ghost. And AR is like guan lu yi. You can see the ghost, you can feel the ghost, and people around you can also feel the ghost. So that's the difference. So how can you actually, overly create augmented reality effects? First, you do have to do reasoning. You have one statement that you want your audience or listener to remember, but you will have more. You will have a sensational story. So what does that mean, sensational? Sensational means something that will bring you surprise, excitement, and interest. So sensational story actually needs surprise, excitement, and what else? Surprise, excitement, and interest. Yeah. So let's try to explain food for thought. Let's try to use this one as an example. So I give you a rational definition. Something that warrants serious consideration. And I told you the Chinese translation. 值得深思的东西. So how can you explain? How can you tell the sensational story and make people remember food for thought? I asked some of my friends, we all have food for mouth. Food for mouth. Some of you are foodies. You are eating all the time, right? You probably, as a human being, you probably eat at least 3 meals a day. Some people, they eat the night snack and also eat some snacks in the afternoon. But for me, I think I don't really like eating buffet. How many of you like eating buffet? No? You like eating buffet. Okay, I'm gonna provide you another perspective. Eating buffet is, you probably have heard that, it's like all you can eat. But based on my experience, eating buffet is like all you can eat, but you just don't remember what you just ate. Did you remember what you just ate?
No.
No, right? You just went there because you're greedy. You want to try all the dishes, but you only have one stomach. Do you know that? So I remember 2 months ago, I went to Jinhua Hotel to eat buffet. And I went there, actually, I didn't remember any food that I just ate. The only thing I remember was the chef was slicing, the long fish, this long. And he tried to put all the dead bodies, 所有的鱼的尸体, all the long fish bodies on an ice heel to form an ice heel. And that was a big show for me. I didn't go there for the food. I went there to see the show. That was amazing. All the dead fish Can you imagine all the dead fish bodies? And can be a magnificent thing. So actually, I was thinking about, so most of the time we have food for mouth, but I would like to promote that. Sentence, we can have food for thought. What does that mean? Food for thought is like something that can exercise your brain. For example, when you read a book, some sentences might strike you, and you keep thinking about it. That's food for thought. And also, attending a meeting like this, Toastmasters, you probably, once you leave here, you probably have something to think about. Food for thought. So you can see I actually tried to tell you a story with like surprise. We all have food for mouth. We all know that. But most of us don't have food for thought. So that's something we actually can try. So how did I do that? Actually, I have a prompter. Do you know a prompter? A machine in front of me. And as a Toastmaster, you probably want to have a prompter. That means the machine that will tell you the next line you're going to say. So even your mind goes blank, you don't worry about it. But no prompter here, right? So I actually asked myself, 5W1H. So what's the difference between food for mouth and food for thought? What? And how can I have something like food for thought? By reading, by attending a meeting. If you try to answer the 5W1H questions, you will figure out how to tell the sensational story. You're not going to tell people a statement, and you won't just do reasoning. You will have a sensational story. So you can see now we just finished talking about like meaning making. Now we are going to move on to the last stage, modifying. So if you want to modify your language, here are 3 tools that you can use. First one is creativity, and second one, humor, sensation. Do you still remember the components of sensation? Surprise, excitement, and interest, right? So you have to make people feel surprised about what you say, feel interested in what you say, and feel excited about what you say. So 6 months ago, I actually did one language experiment at this school. School is like an academic environment. Most of the professors are pretty serious, right? You cannot tell them jokes. So what you have learned here probably won't work in the class. But actually, I did one experiment. In that class, I heard that from other classmates, the professor tend to fall asleep during student presentations. He was always nodding his head. And still, he can provide some suggestion without listening to the presentation. And I have heard that. So, and he taught the class called academic writing. Academic writing. And we learned some models. As you probably know, writing, we need to have introduction, body, and conclusion. He taught a lot of models like that. And he wants us to share what you have learned, what models you learned during the class. So I started my presentation in this way. Before that, actually, I set one goal for my language experiment. The only goal was to make him awake. And I started my presentation in this way. Why do we need models? Let's take a look at all the attractive models. You see, eye-catching appearances. And they all have slim figure, no beer belly. And they all have cleavage, 事业线. And what are similarities between models in real life and models in academic writing? Actually, in academic writing, we need to have an introduction. We need to have eye-catching introduction. And also the body. In your body, you probably all write something before, right? In your writing, especially the body part, each word serves a purpose. And each sentence, each paragraph, each sentence serves a purpose. So no redundant words or no redundant sentences. So that's the reason our body should be slim. And also, in your writing, you might have some words like serve as highlights, just like cleavage, the highlights, 亮点. So I actually try to explain, models in this way. And I know probably my classmates, they are curious about which model do I like. So I said, like, this one is cars model, INRD model, and spree models. This model is my type. I will explain the reason why later. And I actually explain the reason because I'm doing some research about speaking anxiety and communication strategies. So I try to, rationally explain why. You know, what was my professor's reaction? Just before I started the presentation, he was nodding his head. He was almost going to fall asleep. And then after a few seconds, he saw the beginning and he just stood up like this. And he took some photos. And I know, actually that was a successful experiment. Because you see, the professor just wake up. So if you want to do language experiments on your professors, you have to consider the worst scenario. That is, you might fail, the class. So you still need to consider the worst scenario. So, and even after a few months, my classmates still told me, I still clearly remember your beginning presentation. I said, no, I didn't do any beginning presentation. I was talking about writing. But they remember beginning, not writing. So you can see how can you modify your language by creativity, humor, and sensation. So I actually gave a sensational presentation in this kind of conservative place. So most of us actually, since we learn English in Taiwan, and we always check out the Google translation. So our words, sometimes they walk just like a zombie. That's how when you speak, right? But how can you make your words, come alive from zombies to human beings? That's probably a question that we can think about. So now I have 3 things for you to take away. First one is, why do we need to use Google definition? You probably all experienced that. Definition is actually pretty rational. 这个定义都很理性的. But how can you make it irrational? I believe all of you are irrational. 你们都不理性. So you can actually try to orally create a AR effect. Make people see or make people feel what you see. So that's the expression. And now I'm gonna leave you one more question. So the key question is, what is the essence of doing language experiments? Think about it. What is the essence of doing language experiments? Think about it. And my response to that is actually, the reason I do language experiments because I want to make people smile. I want to make people laugh, entertain them. And then I hope people can fully understand what you say and also remember the language you use. And they might want to take some action for themselves. So I hope some of you are willing to do some language experiments on your professors and try to take risks. If you fail the class, don't blame it on me. Okay. So I'm quite curious about what's yours. What's your thoughts about the question? So you can go to this website and scan the QR code, and actually there's a post. You can leave some comments about to answer that question. And I will choose the most sensational one. And if you want to do some language experiments, you can come to me and tell you, the designer of your language experiment, and I will provide you some suggestions or even help you. And last but not least, so what I have shared today actually can be encapsulated in one quote. And the quote is, to experiment or not to experiment? That is the question. So can I invite all of you to say it together? To experiment or not to experiment? That is the question. So that's all for today. And yeah, that's the workshop for today.
Right, thank you, Brandon. Okay, momentum. You still remember what's the meaning of momentum? Go.
Speed.
Right. Speed.
Wait. plus together.
Okay, that is reason, right? All right. Momentum, next is a quick definition. Always try to add something weight when you're speaking on something or being on TND. Right.